Hey, hello again. It's Greg Josephchuk, your premier luxury agent with Lori Lawrence, that's Century 21 here in beautiful Mooresville. I am your luxury Lake Norman agent, and I'm coming to you today with another Market Monday segment. This is a segment where I talk about the local market here, what's going on, and try to bring people up to date. So I'm going to go through some of our latest statistics through our multiple listing service, MLS. And these are statistics that go back a month ago. They're always a month in arrears, but they do tell a story, and I think it's an important story. So let's start with just a reminder that the Charlotte region is made up of 16 counties, 12 here in North Carolina and 4 in South Carolina. And so just give you a little flavor for what's going on. I'll start with the broad picture of the Charlotte region, and then I'll kind of drill it down into the Mooresville area and the Lake Norman area. So here's what we have year to date. New listings are up 8.5% over a year ago, same time last year. Pending sales are up 4%. So we're seeing clearly a pickup in the market from last year. The average sales price is up 3%. It's actually about $510,000, 511 actually is the average sales price. And just a couple other things. Days on market, you'll hear a lot of realtors quote days on market. So on average through the entire Charlotte region, it's 48 days, but I know here in the Mooresville region it's a little bit higher than that. But one of the key things I think people should remember is not just days on market, but something that we call list to close. So from the point it's listed to the point it's closed, and that's going at about 93 days right now. And so if you compare those two, days on market to list to close, what you'll see is taking on average about 45 days to close properties. And again, I think that's pretty typical especially when you see a pickup in the market. Lastly, a lot of times I get asked, kind of what's the average price of a home in the Charlotte area? Well, the average, according to the statistics here, is $540,000, 974. However, I will tell you that it is very, very market specific, very neighborhood specific, and we have, wild swings. Lake Norman luxury property is what I deal in, and I would tell you that probably the average there is about $1.5 million or more, again, depending on the size of the home in the neighborhood and the town that it's located in. So let's talk about, just again, a refresher a little bit about this market, Lake Norman. First of all, it's the number one lakefront market in the Southeast. And the valuation of the properties here exceeds $840 million. And, what that tells me is a couple things. First of all, we see a sustained demand out here in this marketplace. And so property values continue to go up here. I've lived here 20 years. I personally can't recall a time where the lakefront property values have gone down. There may have been a period where they stabilized, but in general, it's gone up year after year. The other thing is that I would say that when you have that type of market valuation and that kind of sustained increase in the price of homes, in the valuations of homes, it greatly contributes to investor confidence, and we certainly see that in our market out here. So I want to drill down now a little bit to the local market of Mooresville here. So I'll just give you a flavor of kind of what's the median prices out in the Mooresville market. And right now we're seeing the median prices somewhere around $440,000 to $450,000. And again, it's gonna vary by neighborhood. It's gonna vary by whether we're talking existing homes or new construction. properties in this range are typically going to feature modern finishes. They're going to be in desirable locations. Oftentimes they're going to be fairly close to lake access. They will be in very good school districts. And days on market, again, roughly in the Mooresville market, it's about 69 days on market. And again, what we're seeing is in terms of price increases, and this will vary a little bit. I think I mentioned for all of the Charlotte region, the average sale price was up about 3%. Here in the Mooresville market, it's actually higher than that. It's somewhere in the 5 to 6% range. And what it demonstrates to me is that Lake Norman real estate continues to be a very solid long-term investment, and in this area of Charlotte, the north end where the lake is a high demand area. And so those that are, seeking to live here and to preserve their investment in lake property, I think you're going to do very well. The other thing I want to mention is inventory. And so that certainly has, an effect on prices. And one of the things that I will tell you is that although historically in the past we've seen inventory very tight, over the last year or two here, we've actually seen inventory kind of increase pretty significantly. And that's a good thing for several reasons. But mostly if you're a buyer, it means you have a lot more to choose from. And we are also seeing a fair amount of new construction communities, especially on this north end, again, of Charlotte in the Lake Norman area. Mooresville is seeing quite a bit of new construction. Troutman is another area that's seeing a fair amount of new construction communities pop up. Even Statesville are seeing a fair amount of new construction communities. So, and that's on the east side of the lake. If you go on the west side of the lake, places like Catawba, Sherrills Ford, Denver, Iron Station. Oh my goodness, I'm thinking about my rock and roll days. Iron Station are all seeing increases in new communities out that way. And then I would say, one other thing that clearly is impacting our local real estate market, and I think it's not just local here, but certainly across the country, are interest rates. And, we've seen very favorable movement recently. I think we're going to continue to see that as a trend. There's a very strong belief that we saw the one Fed cut for this month. There's a strong belief that we're going to see 2 more Fed cuts, both for the remainder of this year. One in November, one in December. So that's very good news, especially for buyers that have been sitting on the sidelines. And I think what I would tell you is that we are seeing a definite uptick in buyer activity. There are more buyers coming onto the market. My phones are ringing. I'm getting more emails, a lot more inquiries. So those are all really good things. And the other thing I would tell you is that as mortgage rates continue to go down, there will be an even greater demand and a greater influx, I believe, of buyers in this market. And of course, that will have an effect on both inventory and it will have an effect on sale prices. Because right now I would say the pendulum has swung to being a buyer's market, but obviously if we get a significant rush of buyers coming into the market, that pendulum could easily swing over to a seller's market. So we're monitoring that, and this is the reason why I would say one of the reasons why you want to work with a local real estate agent that knows the market well. In this case, the Lake market, Lake Norman area market, the northern tier of Charlotte metro market, because they have their finger on the pulse of these kinds of trends. So again, I just want to remind you, I am Greg Josephchuk. I am a luxury real estate agent for Century 21, here in the Mooresville, North Carolina region. And I would be delighted to work with you and help you out in any way that I can, answering your questions. Feel free, if you just want to ask a question, you can call or text me or email me anytime. Certainly, I invite you to go out to my website, which is Greg Sells LKN, which is the short acronym for Lake Norman. So it's gregsellslkn.com. And thank you today for coming on to listening to my segment, Market Monday segment. And I look forward to talking to you and inviting you back in my next series. Thank you.